Chief, thank you for your time. What are the challenges of policing a city like New York?
Listen, we're talking about 8.6 million residents in this city. It's the idea to try and keep people safe, and not only just to be safe, but to feel safe. It's just as important that people feel that comfort level living in this town as you are being safe. So we can throw numbers at you all day long, but we want the people to have that connection with our cops and feel safe.
Okay, work through that distinction. Be safe and feel safe. What's the difference? How do you make someone feel safe?
You make them by understanding what's going on in a neighborhood. Being open, being transparent in everything we do, but also getting to know your cops. You know, we made a whole transition in this agency a while back to neighborhood policing. And the concept of neighborhood policing was getting to know your local cop, keeping the same cop in the same neighborhood all the time.
How successful has it been?
It's been extremely successful.
You're one of the architects of it, right? You're
Yes.
one of the guys who put it together.
It's been extremely successful since we started it. You know, came back in 2014, you know, we had the incidences, we had Ferguson, we had the Eric Garner decision. There were massive demonstrations in the streets, led to the assassination of two of our cops, Lou and Ramos. And we had to change the way we policed. You know, we had reduced crime, but we had lost that connectivity with the community.
Can you give me numbers that you can point to that show how crime is actually coming down?
Yeah, let's talk about the violence. And the violence is where I'm always focused at. As we hit into the 2000s, you know, to 2010, 2013, 2014, we were averaging around 350 homicides a year and 1,100 shootings a year. Since that point, over the last 2 years and continuing on to this year, under 300 homicides and under 800 shootings, 754 to be exact last year. That's a tremendous drop over the course of 3 years after we had dropped from where we were back in 1994. In 1994, we had 2,240 homicides and over 5,000 shootings. That number dropped down to those numbers at 350 and 1,100, and people didn't think we can get it much lower. They thought we had bottomed out. Neighborhood policing came into effect, and we just dropped it down even more.
How do you deploy what you call stop, question, and frisk, and in the UK we call stop and search? How do officers know when to do that?
All right, it's a constitutional right here in the United States, and it has to be done constitutionally. We have to look, if you have reasonable suspicion that someone's carrying a weapon or has just committed a crime, you can stop that person. If in fear that he has that weapon, you can frisk him. It's in the Constitution. They're called Terry stops from a law that was passed by the Supreme Court back in the 60s. It has to be done as a tool of policing, not a measure of productivity. For years in our agency, it became a measure of productivity. We were going up to over 750,000 stops a year.
Purely to hit the number?
Purely to hit a number. In 2014 is when we started changing, and now we're averaging 12,000, or less than that, 10,000 stops a year, and we're getting more guns.
But it's a vital tool.
It is a tool. It is a policing tool to be done as necessary, but not to be done indiscriminately as a measure of productivity.
Many people say that tasers now should be routinely offered to officers already in, and if you're signing up, then you've got to be prepared to carry one. Where would you stand on that?
Absolutely. Tasers have been a tremendous weapon for us. Not a weapon, tremendous tool for us. It's something that we utilize. It's non-lethal, and it can prevent a very serious attack. We had an incident just recently in one of our precincts where a man came walking in armed with a knife, just came walking into the station house and started threatening the cops. Our cops took out tasers, they surrounded him, hit him with the taser. He went down very quickly, dropped the knife, and we were able to take him into custody, and no one got hurt. And that taser, it just incapacitates you for a minute so that we can move in and make that arrest. It doesn't cause any permanent damage.
Across the whole of the country in the United Kingdom, the officer levels went down by around 20 plus thousand. The new Prime Minister said that's going to be addressed. 20,000 officers will be recruited. Are there dangers in recruiting a large number of officers very quickly?
You have to make sure you have the procedures in place that you're getting what you want.
What do you mean by the right man or woman?
The right man or woman. Absolutely, because if you just open those doors and let anyone in, there's a lot of power in law enforcement. You don't want to have someone that isn't equipped properly, physically, medically, or mentally to be a police officer.
And is it a numbers game, policing? The more cops you get, the better job you can do. Is it as simple as that?
No, not necessarily. They have to be well trained. They have to know the laws. They have to know what they can and can't do. And they have to be informed. It's so important that we tell our cops everything. You know, there's the technology that you have to put out in the hands of your cops may be better than more cops on the street. If they know what's going on, if they're well informed, if they know that community, they can prevent a lot.
But you'd never want to go down on numbers.
No, you never want to go down, but you also don't want to just open the door and hire everybody.